Today we're checking out the 2HP loop, which is a 4-mode high-fidelity looper with a 5-minute recording buffer. And it's got 4 different modes, which are sound on sound, dub, replace, and Frippertronics. In terms of inputs and outputs, we have an audio input, record on-off input, and an audio output. We can also use the buttons on the module to toggle between half speed, normal speed, forward and reverse for the buffer. And of course there's a record button as well. As well, for our controls, we have a mix level knob and an input level knob. Okay, let's get right into it. So we're in our first mode here, which is sound on sound, which layers each new recording onto the buffer. And what that means is that we can record at any point in the buffer. And the first loop that we make on the buffer determines the buffer length. And of course, that can be up to 5 minutes. So we have Platts doing the ring sound going into it, and we have a little bit of reverb provided by uBurst. We have a sequence coming from the SQ-1. So we'll hit record here. And now it's looping, and you can hear a mix of the input and the loop as well. We'll add another layer here. You can hear there's 2 layers and the input as well. Now we're going to reverse the buffer. So we're going to hold down mode and shift. It's going to reverse the buffer. And while we're in reverse here, we're going to add a higher octave layer. And now we'll put it back forward by holding shift and mode again. And we'll put a half speed, pressing shift and record at the same time. Right here you can see I'm adding a little bit of delay from uBurst, just to add a little bit more extra color. As you can hear, you can get really beautiful soundscapes in the sound on sound mode, and by changing the buffer speed and the buffer direction as well. Now we're in our second mode, which is dub mode. And according to the loop's manual, it cues the recording to begin at the buffer's beginning and disengages after one full loop. So the buffer apparently behaves like the sound on sound mode. So what that means is every time we hit record, it just goes right back to the beginning of the buffer. I'm using this as a sort of clocked looper by using a gate from Pamela's new workout. And we'll plug in the gate. And a gate starts the record, and a gate also stops the record. And now we have our drum loop playing for us. in this example, we're just going to baseline in. And this isn't actually going through the loop. This is just separate to the loop. What we can do though is we can change up the hi-hat pattern from our drum loop here. We'll just mix between the new hi-hat pattern and the recorded hi-hat pattern, and we can morph between something pre-recorded and the live signal. You can hear the different pattern there. Back to the original pattern. And we'll hear it without the bass here. The original. The new pattern. And morphing back to the original. Okay, so we are in our next mode, which is replace mode. And what replace mode does is every time you record a new loop, it replaces whatever was in the buffer. So I like to use this one for sort of glitch kind of effects. And I have Platts doing sort of a glitchy beat coming through with the model modulation from DivKid Ochd. And so just do a quick tap of the record button. And you can hear that we have this sort of glitch in the buffer. So you can clear the buffer actually by holding down Shift and Record at the same time for more than 2 seconds. As you can see, you can glitch away to your heart's content. You can just keep pressing record, and a new glitchy sound will come out. Of course, you could clock this for sort of a beat repeat kind of effect. Alright, so we're in our final mode here, which is Frippertronics, which essentially how this mode works is you can keep recording layer over layer, and each layer of the buffer will decay over time. And Frippertronics was pioneered by Robert Fripp. So let's check it out. Should also mention that this mode definitely works the best when the record is left engaged. And again, you set the buffer length with that first loop that you make. So hit record, record something, turn off record, and you got your buffer set, and then you can do your Frippertronic thing from there. Alright, and last but certainly not least, we're going to check out one of my favorite ways to use the 2HP loop. And this is in the sound on sound mode. And just have a sequence going, and just loop different little chunks of the sequence, and play with the buffer direction and with the buffer speed. So click record, and I'll let you see how I like to do it. So this has been the 2HP loop, and I highly recommend you to check out this module. It's essential, I'd think, for any big or small system, whether you're into making beats or ambient, really any kind of style. It can be beneficial to any system. So check it out, the 2HP loop.